brother. How you doing? So this is my first time actually meeting you in person. You did hear my voice when the NAAC Pete met with you. I was the one on the phone talking to you because I couldn't make it to the meeting. So,
Yes. Oh, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
right. So as I was saying to the people, the reason I wanted to do this, there's a lot of information. You know, I'm more in the know than the average person because I get everything. But
Yes.
the average person really does not know what the heck is going on. I have neighbors who are telling me things that they heard and things that they keep hearing over and over, and I'm telling them this part is not true. One of the things is that the city owes the school like $25 million. Like the city collected the taxes and just did not pay the school. We've had the controller on who explained how that process worked with the 2 years, and then after that, and another 3, did a whole thing on that.
Hmm.
Didn't matter because there are groups of people saying that the city is not giving the school the money, and that's why we had to close schools, and that's why we had to do all these other things. And now they want to raise your taxes in the budget. Um, and the other part of that, I'm going to let you address everything. I'm just wanting to
Sure.
keep this out. These are the things that I'm getting. And then I'm like, okay, you want to do a zero budget for over 10 years, cost of living and everything goes up. How does that work? So you want to not increase, and we're not talking about 5% of that. It was like a 1 point something, whatever it was. It was within the reach of the New York State limit. You know what I'm saying? And they're telling you don't let the school district raise your taxes and vote no on Tuesday. Starting there, why should people vote yes for this budget? And what is the dangers of the budget does not pass? What has to be done and what has to be cut? And I'm gonna just let you jump right in there.
So thank you, Mr. Woodson, for having me on the show. I think you said it all. Um, the reality is that the cost of living is going up. Okay, health insurance has gone up tremendously since the COVID-19 pandemic. Um, and the reality is, wages are guaranteed to go up every single year for any unionized employee. Those individuals are guaranteed at least 1.5% plus whatever contractual agreement had been made between the school district and that bargaining agreement. And honestly, when you're talking about the Mount Vernon City School District, we're not even being competitive with our neighboring districts. And unfortunately, because of that, it has been difficult to retain talent. I really don't want to talk about what is at stake, but I will. I will talk about the process that I employed in order to get the priorities of this budget. So earlier in the year, and I started way on time, I want to say December or January, I sent a survey out to the community asking them what would they like to see in the budget. I then even presented the results at a subsequent board work session. And the things that rose to the tops were athletic and extracurricular programming, counseling, safety and security, technology. They wanted their gifted and talented program back. Our bilingual education and world languages needed to be improved upon, and our career and technical education programs to continue to be sustained, as well as making improvements to our facilities. The one thing I can say is all of those things aligned with my values. One of my largest values is that every child has unlimited potential. And if it aligns with that, guess what? I'm all for it. That is actually what this budget delivers. And it delivers all of that in a 1.5% tax levy. That's huge. I was able to maximize our title funds to ensure that we would be able to also get math AIS teachers or teachers that are helping or they're specialists in mathematics because we're lagging behind our counterparts in math. Um, so we actually have way more with a small increase of 1.5%, and we're talking about only $10.98 a month or $120 a year, which is basically an Egg McMuffin at McDonald's. Let's keep it 100. And that's what it does. If it does not pass, then that means that I am going to have to cut over $2.8 million worth of services. One of my largest buckets just happens to be athletics. The issue, that's out there in the media, well, we're trying to dangle things in front of people's face. That's not who I am as a person. Okay, I'm just letting people know what the reality is. $1.0 million is what we spend on our athletic programs. That would help me close the gap that would exist in the event that we had to go to a contingency budget. We partner with our community in many different ways, and that includes the city, that includes various businesses, the vendors. We had even Fancy Feet at Mount Vernon High School this entire weekend. We don't necessarily charge them the full price to actually use those facilities, and that's because many of those facilities actually involve our students, our families. But if in the event we have to go contingency, all of those freebies, all of those can I get a discounts, all goes away. Everyone must pay full price, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I'm pretty sure that, in our community, that is Mount Vernon, that would leave individuals not a place to actually go. We would have other program cuts, after school programming, not for, after school programming for next school year, summer programs for the subsequent summer, not this summer, those are already included. We would have to halt some CTE programs. I would want to stay away from staffing as much as possible, but there's a possibility that we may have to make layoffs. And then finally, there are two outstanding contracts that I would love to settle, that being from the administrators group and the Civil Service Employee Association. Those would have to be on halt. So they would be 1 year and 2 years out. And fortunately, we were able to get our teachers done. We're almost there with our monitors. So that's sort of what is on the table.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So why would the first thing you would cut would be the $1 million sports, right? Because so many people in our community build leadership, character, right? Motivation for academics through sports.
So I love the question. First and foremost, I am a firm believer that academic athletics is the greatest form of academic intervention. And I just want to make it clear. I said I would be forced to look at that bucket, the bucket of programs. And again, it's not about dangling. It's just I would have to make sure anything that is non-mandated. Athletics is not mandated through commissioner's regulations. However, a classroom teacher is, a principal is, an assistant principal is not even mandated, through the commissioner's regulation. I would not be able to touch special education and bilingual services. So you see, like, that gives me limited options as to what it is that I can actually look to reduce. And then what I was saying with athletics, it would be very difficult, because how can I say one thing is more valuable than another thing? Football is more valuable than basketball, or basketball is more valuable than soccer. I see every person in our community playing all the sports. And then you have both our ladies and our men. So it would just be difficult to really ponder. However, I would definitely, I would take a strong look at what I would have to minimize. Something would have to lose, unfortunately. It
When
may
you
not be the whole program, but
okay,
it may be some things.
when you talk about sports, and honestly, basketball is big in our community,
Of course,
and football is big in our community.
of course.
Things like track might not be as big in our community, but things like track is what got a young man like Rob Benjamin to get a great education and to the Olympics. He's an Olympic winner.
Absolutely.
But had that program been canceled, because everything went into basketball and football, which are our big ones,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? Some of the other sports would suffer, and track is just as important as basketball. As you see, we got a Rod Benjamin out there, and we may have
course.
future Rod Benjamins. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you
Of
know,
course.
everybody's not making it to the NBA or the NFL. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, so I just wanted to put that out. But I wanted to, so there's been a lot of things written on social media.
Yes.
I'm going to read a couple of notes from one and let you address it because it calls you by name, literally.
Mhm.
So it basically says the Mount Vernon School District puts out a budget vote on May 19th. Voters rejected it under Education Law 206A. The board had two options: to go back to voters with a revised budget or straight to a contingency budget. The board chose to try again. That revote is June 16th. If voters reject the budget a second time, a contingency budget is mandatory. There is no more votes. In the run-up to the June 16th, Superintendent DeMario Strickland and the school board have launched an aggressive social media campaign telling voters what will happen if the budget fails. On social media interviews, Dr. Strickland has leaned hard into the specter of no athletics, no basketball, knowing exactly what that means to our community where youth sports are often a lifeline. So there's a lot more, but we're going to stop right there. And I know that's a couple of different things, but let you address that.
So if we would have went straight to contingency, it would have all the things that I explained in the beginning of this interview would have to happen automatically. And then I just needed the different individuals that we partner with, the different the city that we partner with to provide programming for our youth. I needed them to realize the impact of a contingency budget. That's why I opt to actually bring this budget back out there. In addition, I was excited because of the advocacy, and I heard you talking about my last year's lobbying, but this year we did the same thing. We went up to Albany and lobbied, and both our House and our Assembly went out there and definitely went out there and said, hey, please, no less than 2% from every single school district. We need to all see that every school district has 2% in their budget. And when that happened, I was excited. I then said, you know what? Now the gap closes and the 1.5% would actually get us there and not need, and we would not need 1.99%. So that's why I opted to go out myself and the board for a revised budget.
So I'm getting a couple of people and some of the people who wrote the comments on social media.
Sure.
And I brought this up before. It's the question about the city owing the school district money.
Yes.
This question, are you pursuing the money from the city?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't the amount completely eliminate the need for an increase?
That is not true because, first of all, as I've already stated multiple years ago, we've tapped into our reserves. Right now, we are labeled fiscally distressed. So those monies would honestly need to go into our bank account to help us get out of the dire situations that we are currently in. God forbid that we have an emergency in any of our schools. We only have $1.5 million to cut it. Why? Because that money, instead of levying the taxes, even a small amount, we've only dipped into the bank account. Now, when you are a school district, you have to be ready for anything. Um, I would say that uh, so our taxes from 2018 to 19, 2019 to 2020, which was litigated, has been paid in full. And I know you said the comptroller has been on this show and has explained what the process is. When that final payment hit our account, I was like, okay, so what's next? Only to find out that there had been nothing set in stone, no process as to how we would then move on to the next 2 years to begin collecting those funds. I had to really work with Comptroller Morton, my team, his staff, to actually say, what is the process? Like, how do we understand what taxes are truly owed back to the school district and what don't they owe? Who paid, who didn't? That's been called the reconciliation. We had to spend months and months reconciling just to ensure that both amounts were created. Out of that process came a letter of understanding, which showed one, what the process will be going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we certify our taxes and give that final number to the city, how they will then collect after we certify the taxes, there will be no duplicates. And then they can just consistently see what the amount is and actually continue to pay that amount back to the school district. Through this process and through the law, the city will always be 2 years behind. Okay, they will always be 2 years behind. I will say from 2020 to 2021, 2021 to 2022 has been rectified, and we are about to put that contract to the city so that now we can resume our payments for the next school year, and then we can just keep rolling with this process and make sure that those monies come in. I want to get to a point where we have a healthy and stable fund balance. Once we have a healthy and stable fund balance, then we can say, you know what? Guess what? That money is enough to actually fill in the gap to actually ensure that we're made whole, and we do not have to actually continue to levy anything. Hopefully nothing has to be over one, but the reality is the costs are still outweighing what it is that are owed.
So okay, so and just getting to the crux of it, what was contracted, the agreed upon, has been paid in full. It's so the city. Does the city currently right now owe the school district money? Like, did they collect money that they didn't give to the school, or how does that work? I mean, that's what I think when I hear the city owes. The city's not paying the school the money they owe them. So they collected it, y'all agreed to it, and they didn't pay. But what you're saying is what the contract that y'all went into for the 2-year period, that payment, they've fully paid that off, and now you're entering a new contract.
That is the initial litigation that was between when the Mount Vernon City School District sued the city of Mount Vernon. That was for the year's taxes prior to 2020. Okay, what I'm telling you is that money has been paid in full. And then what I said subsequently is that after the fact, we have not had an actual agreement. I thought that this was all set in stone. Remember, I just started in July, and the payments were coming, and there was no agreement. And as a result, I had to make sure that we worked with the city to have an agreement, because I said we are not going through any more periods where we are waiting this long to actually continue to get our payments. So that's from 2021 on. However, we would not be collecting taxes from 2024 because that is the 2-year mark. it will always be a 2-year lag to the current year for collecting city taxes. But in short, yes, there is funding that is owed to the city, to the city school district.
From the city. The city has
That
money.
is correct.
Okay. What is that amount?
So the amount only the amount that I know equates to $5 million because that has been reconciled. Okay. We don't know the next 2 years because those amounts have not been reconciled. Once we find out, or once that reconciliation of those taxes are completed, then we will know how much they owe for the next 2 years after the ones that we are about to start receiving payment on.
So let me ask you a question. So when was the last payment from the other thing? When was the last payment?
The last payment came in September of 2025 and hit the bank account in October of 2025.
Now, if I'm following you, then there was no continuation on to the next 2 years. You had to reconcile the difference. My question going into that is, now that you've done that for this next period, are you, as the new superintendent, prepared to start working on whatever's next so that when you get to the end last payment on this one, you don't have a gap and have to do this stuff again? I don't know if I'm following.
Yep, great question, Mr. Woodson. So what I was saying, in this process of coming up with the next agreement, we have a letter of understanding, and that explains how we will always do this process, meaning when we will certify for the school year of the taxes that we as the district have collected. When does the city then pick up and start collecting? They will then do a reconciliation, and they will be able to tell us this is the amount. We will then come up with an agreement and determine how much their payment. But yes, someone in the comments, I appreciate it, says 5.4. That is correct. 5.4 is from 2021 to 2022. 2021, 22, 22, 23. Those are the next years that will come in.
And is due in 2025? It was due in 2025?
That would have been due in 2025. So an agreement honestly should have been struck up last year, as in last school year, because it would have halted.
And then it says there's another in October. There will be another 3 to 4 million due.
So hopefully, as we continue to move forward, remember I told you the 2 years after what we are about to settle have not been fully reconciled. We are currently reconciling that, and once we have that number, then we will be able to put that number out there and say exactly what it is that we are owed from the city, and it will just continue so we don't have that lag, as you said earlier.
And I wanted to ask another question because I'm not seeing this in all the various social media posts and stuff. So this is not money that the city is manufacturing. This is taxpayer money that they have to collect. So there are taxpayers that have not paid their taxes.
Correct.
That have to be collected. So now that has to be collected so it can be paid to the school.
That is correct. So just to give you some further understanding, because I've also seen this out there in the media, the school district cannot go and take homes. You know what I mean? We can't do that. All we can do is actually collect our taxes. But what I will say is that, yes, it is the job of the city to actually go ahead and go out there and find out how they are going to make us whole one way or another. And if you probably heard some presentations from Dr. Morton, he actually stated that they paid us from those 2 years that have been closed. They paid us even though they had not collected that money. And so they've actually gone into their reserves or their pockets to actually make sure that we were whole for those years that were paid off.
I think when he came on, he said once he enters the agreement, whether they collect the money or not, they're obligated to pay the school
That is correct.
like $450,000 a month, whether they collected the money or not.
That is correct.
And they did that. You're
That's
saying
correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
I'm trying to follow this. I'm also trying to not make it too complicated because I'm trying to keep it as much as layman terms because a lot of this goes over at the average person's head. A lot of people don't know. Like, you know, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of questions that are the same question over. Like someone's asking, with all the funding due, why increase on taxes and why is it taking the city so long to make the school district whole? You've actually answered that question already.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Larnez, do you have? We do have another person who is scheduled to come on with you. Now let's see if I can do this with 4 people.
You want me to bring her up? I'll bring her up.
Oh, can you? And
Yes, I can. I got it.
resize everything
You said it what?
and resize everything. Like you're gonna
I
make.
don't know about resizing, but
That's what
I'll
I'm saying.
bring her up.
Where is it gonna go? That's what, this is what Damon usually does.
When all else fails, the Knicks won. So whatever.
Well,
we have
yes,
to worry
yes.
about,
I didn't want
it'll
to.
all work.
I'm a big Knicks fan, and I've been waiting 43 years for this because I wasn't. I was 7 in 53 and then 73.
Yeah.
So I wasn't watching till 83.
Yes.
But yeah, I've been waiting 43 years, but I didn't want to take away from. Even though I'm so excited, I didn't want to take away from all of this to talk about the Knicks, though. But yes, I'm very excited about that.
Yes, absolutely.
So is there while we're figuring out how to bring the next person on, let me ask you: is there things that you would like to get to the public? Things that you might want to clear that I haven't asked you or haven't come up in the comments that you might want to share with the educate the people.
Sure. So one of the things that I will explain, you actually brought this up already.
Here we go.
Said, why did the district have to close 3 schools? And, having come from a place that had to close 11, which, was detrimental to them.
Wait. There was a possibility of 11 schools closing? You said 11?
11 schools in my previous.
Okay. You scared me because I never heard that number 11 before. Okay.
No, 11 schools in my previous district. A lot of it is based on the footprint of the district, meaning how many certificated teachers do you have that are available in schools? What is the enrollment in those schools? And that's some of the stuff that have actually happened here, and which is why they closed 3 buildings. The enrollment, yes, has in fact declined, but I will say that the needs and services of our students have dramatically increased. So while our general education students are declining, our students with disabilities are in fact increasing, as well as our English language learners. And again, people must understand that when you when you're servicing a student with a disability, you must give them mandated services that they deserve. That could mean upwards to 6 different individuals that come in contact with those students. A student with a disability can have a classroom teacher. Most times they may have a paraprofessional or a teacher assistant that is with them. They might have physical therapy. They might have occupational therapy. They might have speech language pathology. We have psychologists that have to continue to test that student. We have, a general ed teacher that would need to help provide information as it pertains to the IEP. So right there, you're talking, 5, 6 people that would need to come in contact with that child in order for that child to get the services that they need. In particular, we've seen this in the community. There has been a large increase in our students with autism spectrum disorder that are needing various services. Okay, they're requiring the most support during the school day, which means that drives up costs. Same thing with our English language learners. Our English language learners, we're now at over 10% of our population is English, or students that do not speak English as their first language. They have a general ed teacher. They also have another, um, they have an ENL teacher, which helps them with the acquiring of the English language. So that's two, at least. That doesn't even count if that is a student that has English as a second language that is actually coming up or that has a disability. Then you would compound all of those services in addition to help and support that student with acquiring English. So it's so hard to explain because it does. You're probably like, well, their enrollment is going down, but I'm telling you that the amount of self-contained classrooms are the most I've ever seen in a district of this size, with vast needs. Okay, and we're at 20% students with disabilities. That's 20% of our population. So if you think about it, we have to provide those 20% a whole lot more than we would provide just a student that receives a general ed education.
Now, I wonder, and I'm going to after this. I think Ms. Crump has some questions, but so I do stories on a lot of things, and I learn a lot of this stuff from stories I do. So dealing with the city of Mount Vernon and taxes and stuff, one of the things that I've covered a lot is the police department. Major argument was that they are the lowest paid police department in Westchester County, comparing it to neighboring towns who bring in a lot more taxes and have bigger budgets. Being that the same pool of money, the taxes, X amount of it goes to the school district. I've seen people online comparing Mount Vernon School District to neighboring schools. Like Yonkers brings in a whole bunch has a much bigger budget, and
Yes.
Rochelle and Bronxville and and with that you just added that our percentage of those students that need more help is probably bigger than those other neighboring towns.
Yes.
So I just want you to address any of that, and then Ms. Crump, if she has any questions.
No, you said that you said that appropriately. So, well, Yonkers receives a lot of it's one of the big fives. It receives a lot of its funding from New York State, in the governor's budget. We have to generally levy taxes. I have explained, I have had multiple teachers this year that I did exit interviews with. And one of the reasons why they said that they were leaving is because of pay. That wasn't the number one reason, but that was one big reason. They were able to go to their districts and make 30,000, 20,000 more. And it was also near their home. So that right there already pulls us out of the conflicted teacher, when they're making a decision on whether they want to stay or whether they want to leave. In addition, many of them cited culture, which I've worked hard this year to really change the culture of our district, to make sure that students and families feel seen, heard, and valued, to make sure that our school leaders are supporting our teachers and our teachers are supporting our students. A lot of effort has been put into that. And I've been boots on the ground. I've been in every single school. I go in schools every single week and do walkthroughs of some sort, visit for events, to ensure that we are delivering high quality instruction. Now we still have a long way to go. Trust me. Next year I'm going to be tackling school culture as well as looking at our curriculum. Okay, and over time, remember, things didn't get like this in Mount Vernon because, in 1 year. All right, but I will say over time we are able to make slow and steady progress. I'm just really trying to accelerate it because I'm saying it's like now or never. When I came here, I did my research on Mount Vernon. And you know what? One thing I loved is when I would talk to somebody and introduce myself to them, and then they would introduce themselves to me. They would say, I am a proud graduate of Mount Vernon High School. And I was like, you know what? I love that. Like, you feel that. And then I did research, and I'm like, it used to be lauded as one of the best educational systems in New York State.
I can confirm that. I'm class of '84, and the math department was the #1 math department in the state at the time.
And guess what? Now I have a bar. You know what I'm saying? Now I truly have a bar that I must hit. I must hit that bar to bring it back to where it is. We really have to get it back there.
And I'm going to introduce Brenda. I just wanted to comment on what you said with my it's interesting with my scenario with the police department, the case that the point I was making. I didn't notice teachers were leaving, but that was the biggest issue. We can't retain police officers because they can go to Greenberg and Bronxville and make $35,000 to $50,000 more and deal with less crimes and calls. You know what I'm saying? So how do you tell them not to leave? So you're saying we're losing teachers for competitive pay and stuff like that as well.
Correct. People are offering bonuses. I know in my previous district, I had put up, if you stayed for the 25-26 school year, guess what? You're going to get a $2,500 retention bonus. Those are the things that come from the actual reserves that we have we had in the previous district. But I can't be competitive like that, unfortunately.
So introducing, for those who don't know, Miss Brenda L. Crump. She is an advocate for children. She also a former trustee, and I've said this several times on shows before. We've had a lot of trustees that have the position. Even when she didn't have the position, she was doing the work in the community. You know, and I like people that actually do the work without the position. You know, because people with a position is just to have a position. But this is Brenda L. Crump. So I know you have a question or two, and I would like to open it and let you ask that.
Okay, so thank you. Welcome, everybody. Please forgive my tardiness, but, I want to give praise that my daughter, my youngest of my 7, but now 6 of my oldest son, passed away in 23. She decided she wanted to get baptized and take the official right-hand fellowship of the church. So, we went out to eat afterwards to celebrate that. And so I'm just getting back and getting settled, and I'm on now. So please forgive my tardiness. But there are some questions in the community in regards to sports and program services and how the New York State education law reads in regards to the district does not have to cut sports, or sports is not a required cut. It would be the decision of the district to do so. So please talk more about that. Explain that to the community.
Yep. So actually, we sort of opened with that already, but I'll just say it again. When you go to a contingency budget, you're required to look at anything that is non-mandated. Okay. So what I just explained, the needs of our students with disabilities, those are required by law. Athletics, unfortunately, is not required. Now, what I was saying is we spend over $1 million in both modified and varsity level sports. So therefore, I would have to look at that area would not be absolved from, looking at where I could potentially make $2.8 million worth of cuts in order to meet the contingency budget at $273 million. So I would naturally have to look at that area, and that's what I had explained earlier.
Brenda?
Okay, thank you for repeating that, and forgive me for being late.
No problem.
I just want to give an example. Sometimes people need real live examples, not hypothetical stuff. As I said, I'm a parent of 7, now 6, with the deceased, the death of my oldest son. And there was a point in time with my children's education where one child was in special education classes and had an additional reading program that we had to pay for. And then there was a child that was in AP honor classes, and that was in an additional extracurricular activity, gymnastics. And there came a point where we couldn't pay for both. And so my husband and I, when I say we, God rest his soul, he passed in 2019, that we had to make a choice. And so we chose the child that had the greater need academically. So the child that was in special education, that was direct instructional services that she was receiving that she needed.
Correct.
And the child that was in the AP honor classes was receiving the extracurricular activity of gymnastics. That's indirect instructional services.
Correct.
So
exactly.
the sports are important to enhance the overall child, because she did track, and she went to Australia and competed against their 400-meter hurdle person and beat that person. She got a national country ranking in the 400-meter hurdles at the nationals competition. So all that is important. But as a household managing our budget, it came to a point where we had to make the choice. So when people say about, well, it's the district choosing to cut sports, to modify sports, we want to look at the educational system, because at the end of the day, the Mount Vernon City School District is an educational system.
True.
And so it's about, first and foremost, educating children, and then all the extracurricular activities, the social piece, all that is important, and that's what a child get as well. But first and foremost is about the educational piece. So I just want to add that as a real live example that we had to do. And so the child that was doing the gymnastic, we had to cut that for the child that's in the reading program.
That example is perfect.
And that's what the district will have to do. So Correct. It's not that the district want to, because we did not want to cut that gymnastics, but it came to a point where we had to. And I also like to just explain, I like layman, simple, realistic examples. And that is that the taxpayers is not necessarily the city. Let's hold accountability where it needs to be held. Is some taxpayers, that have not paid their taxes for whatever reason. There are a myriad of reasons why people have not paid their taxes. And so therefore, if they have not paid their taxes to the city or the school district, then there is nothing for the city to give to the school district if they have not collected the taxes. They can't give what they don't have. And there was a point where the city was collecting the taxes for the school district, and we had in leadership, I just want to be candid at this point. And so I like the individual who held the position, Deborah Reynolds, but she was not collecting the taxes. Or some have said she was not, people have went to pay their taxes, and for whatever reason, she did not receive, accept their taxes. And so it put us in a real financial bind as a district. And so the school district decided that, hey, you know what, we're going to collect our own taxes. And being candid, the school district jumped out there without doing thorough research about the process of collecting taxes, and realizing that in a figure of speech, they're a dog without the bite. And that means, yes, we can ask for our taxes, but we don't have the authority to do foreclosures like the city. So it's the dog without the bite. So they jumped out there not being fully aware and say, hey, you know what, this is more difficult than we thought. So now they come back to the city and say, will you help us? And at this point, the city is not obligated to help the school district, because you assume that responsibility to collect your taxes. So if you're not able to collect them, now you're coming to us to help you. And so there's that, I don't know if you spoke about that 2-year window, that 2-year period of collection. So you did, so people are aware of that. But the bottom line is that the school district, they assumed that responsibility and could not handle it, were not able to get the taxes. So how is it that they think that the city is able to get the taxes if you couldn't collect? And just imagine, just think that if it was your home and for whatever reason you were not able to pay your taxes, would you want someone to immediately come in and foreclose on your home? And that's a process within itself. It's not a 1, 2, 3 instant step. So I want to put that out there when people are saying, well, the school district need to force the city. How is it that you force the city to give you something that they don't have? And the city itself is in fiscal stress. The school district is in fiscal stress. The two entities are in fiscal stress. They don't have the funds. The figure of speech, you can't get blood from a turnip. I'm a mother of 7. I'm a widow now. I'm a homeowner, taxpayer. And when my husband passed away, how our system is set up in this country, he worked for the postal system. When he was alive, he got X amount of money. When he died, that money did not increase. That money did not maintain. It lessened. But my mortgage did not lessen. And some of my other bills, like the homeowner's insurance, those things stayed the same. But I had less money to work with. Yeah. So I say that to say that my children have gone through the system. All 7 of them went through the school district. But I am willing to pay the taxes to support the children that are in the system now, that they can get the same thing, if not more, than what my children received when they were in the school system. And lastly, I will say, just imagine in reference to the sports. We have Rod Benjamin, Olympic champion. I went through the issue of a contingency budget, an austerity budget, whatever language you want to use. I went through that with my oldest child that graduated in 2009 when we were out there on the corners, literally on the parkway with paint buckets begging for money. I went through an austerity budget, a contingency budget, whichever language you want to use. I went through that. I know what that's like. But just imagine if our Rod Benjamin, if we were in this this issue when he was going through his senior year, when he was going through his high school year, what would have been the impact? Would he be where he is now as an Olympic champion, a college graduate? Because sometimes people think and they look at athletics, but I was one that always held the coaches accountable to remember that they are students first, student athletes. So it's not just about the athletic, but it's about the student. They're student athletes. So we need to make sure that we're preparing them for whatever option they choose for life after high school. And I want to say this as well, that sometimes that we as adults say to children, oh, so what college are you going to? And sometimes they're not going to college. College is not for everyone. You have Job Corps, you have the military, you have trade school, you have different avenues, different paths for life after high school. So the question really should be, what's your plans for life after high school, higher education? Mm-hmm. Because the worst thing to do is to ask a child, so what college are you going to? And they may not be college material. They may not want to go to college. My oldest, as I said, was a scholar, student, athlete, AP honor classes, honor row. But she didn't want to go to college. She enlisted in the military, intel, military intelligence. She received during her graduation the highest amount in scholarship for school. She received $121,500 to further her education, and she wasn't going to college. However, when she went into the military, she then had the opportunity to go to college and to save that money for postgraduate stuff for when she left the military, and that her family, if she chose to get married and have children, they could also use that money. So I'm just saying there are many pathways, and we should not lock and block our children into what college are you going to? And sometimes when you ask children that and their plans are not going to college, look at them, how they lower their head and they drop their eyes because they feel bad, they feel embarrassed, they feel ashamed that they're not going to college. But trade school, we need electricians, we need plumbers, we need other trade school talents, skills. So I just want to put that out there. So I thank you for coming on, Dr. Strickland, and I hope that, as I said, I was late, so I missed a lot of what you said. But, I just want to put that out there and ask the people to go out and vote on June 16th and vote yes. Because here's the other thing. We've gone through consecutive zero budgets. Layman and simple. We run our household. If you don't put money in your checking account, how do you write out bills? How do you pay your bills? We have bills that with the district that has to be paid that we don't have control of, contracts and insurance and so forth. How do you do that if you don't put money in the checking? And if you have money in your checking and you spend up all the money in your checking and you move to your savings account and you spend up all your savings account, then how do you function? How do you properly run your home? Those are legitimate questions. And so that's where we are in the school district. And it's not about talking bad about anybody or blaming anybody. It
Correct.
is what it is.
Correct.
We are where we are.
So as we come
And we
to the
can do
close-
better and move forward.
As we come to the close of the show, I wanted to give the superintendent any
I have a
chance.
question.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I did a little research while you were talking, right? And it says property tax. This is how you make up your budget, right? Property tax, which is 52 to 53% of revenue, and then state aid, which is 44% of the revenue, right?
That's correct.
Why is the first thing, and I'm not saying it's the first thing, I'm just talking from the top of my head because I don't live in Mount Vernon, I live in Yonkers, right?
Okay.
Why is the first go-to raise the taxes? Why not looking at other ways that the city can make revenue to funnel money to the Board of Ed to make better choices in teachers? And I'm not saying you're making the wrong choices, but make sure that the teachers have the skill set to make the students excel, because I know in the city, when your school excels, student rates and testing scores, you get more money.
Mhm.
Right? So my question again is, why is the first go-to raise the taxes? Because out of everything that I've heard from Mount Vernon, the first go-to is always raise the taxes.
But just to, okay, so I hear what you're saying, but even with what Ms. Crump just said,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at what we haven't raised the taxes the last 10 years as comparative to most of the state, if not all of it.
Mm-hmm.
The state only gives us what they give us, that amount, okay,
Mm-hmm.
per pupil, and that's the amount that they give us. We then have to make up the amount to make sure that we can fund the school system as a whole. You are 1000% right in that if you have great teachers, then you can you will have great students, and students will make great schools, and then we have a better community. But unfortunately, because I cannot be competitive
Mm-hmm.
with paying those teachers, I am forced to pick or to select teachers that are novice, meaning they're coming right out of college, because the salary is extremely low as compared to other places. Then they come here, they get their trainings, they work for 4 or 5 years, get their tenure, and then different school districts actually start poaching teachers because they need to now fill the holes in their school districts. So then what are we left with? We're left with being in this vicious cycle of only getting folks that are right out of college, which, I mean, believe it or not, I love developing new teachers. However, they go through, they need more training to get to that higher level. And you're talking about also people that don't necessarily look like us that are in these classrooms. So then there's a cultural gap or a cultural divide that you have to get over. And that's why you have to raise the taxes. But honestly, I have a slide out there, and it's true, the past 10 years, it was with the 1.99%, we've only raised the taxes over 6.5% versus like New Rochelle versus Pelham, they're in double digits, okay? And again, if you don't have to, believe me, I don't want to. You know why? Because I also have an aging great grandmother. I have an aging grandmother. And I know how difficult things can be for them. And I don't want to put folks through that if I can be as frugal as possible. But unfortunately, I just don't have the reserves, the reserves in place to close that budget gap and give students what they deserve, what I feel they deserve, and what families ask for. You remember I said that survey? The families ask for those things. If I had, I'm as of the end of this year, our 4% cap for fund balance could be upwards to 11 million. Okay, meaning we could have 11 million in the bank. We are not finishing at 11 million. Okay, I will say that. I want to be very clear, but I will say, if I had that maximum amount of fund balance, I would be able to say, oh, I can pull a little bit out of fund balance and then maybe only say 0.25 or 0.5. You know what I mean? Because again, the reality is health insurance costs go up every single year. Our medications are going up every single year. CPI in terms of transportation going up every year. We transport our students with disabilities to school. That goes up every year. The cost for expenses goes up every year. What we pay for energy to heat our buildings, to cool the buildings, increase every year. You know, and I couldn't do nothing with $1.5 million currently that we have in the bank. So again, I would love not to do it. Right? I would love not to do it. I would also love not to pay $4.29 or how much ever gas is now. If you're cheap like me, I'm buying a regular because it's just too expensive. But we have to if I have to get places, or I can walk. You know what I mean? I can walk.
So let me just add, because I think this is what I heard, right? So you're saying that they didn't increase the taxes enough over the past 10 years. That's
Absolutely.
What you're trying to say.
Yes, ma'am.
They had a zero tax increase for several years. There was no tax increase for most of 10 years. It was 0, 0, 0, 0.5, 0.
May I add facts to that? Because I have the chart here. So the 2016-17 year, it was 0%, 17-18, 0%, 18-19, 0.89%, 19-20, 0%, 20-21, 0%, 20-21-22, 0.50%, 50%, 22-23, 0%, 23-24, 0%, 24-25, 0%, and then we went up to in 25-26, 3.30%. And this year the district is asking for less than what they asked for last year of 1.99%. That went out, as we said, on May 19th, and the community voted it down. Yes. And so the district chose to revise the budget and reduce it and lower it down to a 1.5%. And then there's chatter in the community and a organized group to vote the 1.5% down. But yet last year, coming off of consecutive zeros, 3.3% was okay. And that wasn't too high. But the district came down 1.99. And then the district came down lower now for Tuesday, June 16th to 1.50. And I like to leave with this. We as homeowners, if we have a good school system, we invest in our children, we have higher property tax value. As a homeowner, if I want to maintain the value of my home or increase it, I have to make an investment in it. And that investment is putting money into my home, leaders, gutters, roof, painting, etc. That's what I have to do. And so I say to the community, if we're honestly looking at things, those consecutive 0%, we're in a fiscal distress. And when those 0% were going on, we were in distress. And the document is there, and I've shared that document with the community. I say to the community, vote yes on the budget. And then get involved, get engaged, and hold the people accountable. But give our children a chance. Because at the end of the day, it's not mine, yours, it's their education. We have our college degrees, we have our high school diplomas. Give them a chance to get theirs. Get involved, get engaged, but don't handicap and cripple them, so to speak, and say, oh, well, it's too much and they're not managing the money well. Get in there, get involved, and get engaged, and hold them accountable to managing the money well, but give the children a chance to earn their credentialing, to earn their degrees as we have as adults.
So I want to add one thing real quick. So my sister lives in Loudoun County in Virginia. And if you look that up, that is one of the highest paying taxes in the country. She said her taxes are extremely high, but she doesn't mind paying her taxes because every time she leaves her house, she can see her tax dollars at work. So I say that to say, zero is not the way to go, but we need to make sure that people see where their tax increase, where their tax dollars are. Because once you see your tax dollars at work, and I know other people that live in other communities, you don't mind paying it because you see your tax dollars at work. I think the problem is you're asking for increases and people don't necessarily, street schools closed. They're not seeing the tax dollars at work. So I just, as the new superintendent, hopefully you can put a plan together where you can show people more where their tax dollars is going and how it's their tax dollars at work.
I just want to say this. I do receive emails, and this year I've been receiving emails talking about how the grounds have been looking nice, and I was like, oh, I mean, that's an expectation of mine. Like I even started off the school year with the principal saying aesthetics. If those stuff looks nasty, I don't even want to go into your school. Like I want to see that you have a welcoming and affirming environment. And what I found out is that the grounds this year have been in better condition. They actually they're really keeping up with it. They're weeding, they're cutting the grass, and it looks nice. So that's one instance of tax dollars at work. And then I wanted to make one point about this year. So remember, this budget that is currently the 25-26 school year budget, that is honestly not my budget. That budget is the budget that was put forth by the last administration that I have to work with it. What I will tell you also is that we started the school year when I took the keys on July 1st. I did not know that we were in a $5.7 million deficit, meaning we had overspent by $5.7 million last year. And then think about it. That could have been the money that would have helped support not raising it to 1.5. I could have came down lower once the state came in. But unfortunately, I had to because I had to work with a deficit budget. And honestly, I don't blame anybody in the past. This job is very difficult. But I have been paying bills from prior years. I have been making sure that we get our processes, our systems correct so that we are being financially stabilized and not making mistakes moving forward, because this budget that is at stake, I'm putting that forward, and that will purely be my responsibility. So I just wanted to lead with that as well.
So I have a question. So as a superintendent,
real brief,
are you going to put together a state of the schools for next year?
So I did a state of the schools in the beginning of this year. It was mainly for the all the faculty and staff. But next year, I actually do believe that I'm going to open up to the community and actually do a state of the schools at one of our schools where everyone is involved, including the community.
Okay,
that's a good look. I just want I want to leave with one or two things. One, whatever the shape of the school is, it didn't happen in 1 year. This has been a declining decline for a while, and one new person is not going to clean up this situation in 1 year either. So I say that to say, I don't expect you to be perfect. One of the things we look for is transparency.
Absolutely.
And this show, I want you to look at this when you need to get the word out. See, here's the problem. The people that put out some of the misinformation, they have, emails. They've been doing email blasts. They're doing this. They're doing all this. I don't know what you're doing, not you, the school district, as far as getting the word out, elected officials, period. They do a lot to get our attention when they're running. They do all of this stuff. They find different ways to reach us at the supermarket, everywhere, when they're running to get the vote. But once they have the vote, they're not using that same energy to get the word out, to stay in touch with everybody. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, I just want to say publicly, I invite you to have open door policy when you need to reach the people. And even if it's writing an op-ed that you want to write or something, as another avenue to help you and the school district reach the community. Because what happens is the word is not trickling down to everybody.
Of course.
I had a conversation with someone who's involved in helping you, and I was like, they told me something went out. I said, it didn't go out to everybody because I know a lot of people who didn't get it. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing is with City Hall. City Hall says we do robocalls. They used to tell me, not this current City Hall, but before, we do robocalls. Well, a lot of people I know didn't get those. So that's not just the end all be all. So you might want to be more aggressive and more creative in finding ways to get the word out. Maybe sending and putting it. I put it when I was in school when we was younger. The teachers, they would get these papers and then we'd have to put them in our book bag for our mothers when we got home. That's one great way to get the word out. I don't know if they'll do stuff like that anymore. But, we got to be, find different ways to reach the people where they are because the word is not getting out. I do want to thank you. Thank you. Someone just wrote, thank you, Dr. Strickland. Vote yes for our children in Mount Vernon. Invest now for the future of our communities. And someone else, Kathy Brewington, said, I guess she's talking about the increase would be $15 per 1,000. I'm not sure what that means.
It was 15. The original, when we were asking for 1.99, the amount of increase would have been $14.98. Now we're asking for 1.5. The amount of increase is $10.98.
Okay, that would be like per month. That
is correct.
Okay, so that's good. So again, I hope, and now this is for the voters. This is for the residents. I say this often anytime we have an election. You sometimes come out and vote, sometimes you don't come out and vote. Sometimes you come out to vote, then you go to sleep for 4 years and then come back out. Your job doesn't end at voting. Politics is a participatory sport. That means you have to participate. If you don't like the way the city is being run, you need to go to the city council meetings. If you don't like the way the library is being handled, you need to go to the library board meetings. If you don't like something going on at the school, you need to go to the school board meetings and speak at those things. Those are things that you can do, that you need to do. You need to be involved. And that's on you, because we put a lot of things on, let's say the mayor, the city council, the superintendent. What are you doing to help our school district be better?
Yes.
What are you doing? I'm speaking to all the residents out there. What are you doing to make any of this better? What involvement are you doing? You just can't just vote. And our school board election is a very important election. I've been disappointed the last few elections with the school board and the library board, the people who actually show up and the numbers that they have. The number I've been really disgusted by the turnout. The turnout has been very first off, the turnout in our primaries, we are 30%, if that. You know what I'm saying? But we have to do better. This is your responsibility. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to be involved. And that's it. Any last words for attendant? The vote is Tuesday. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's Tuesday from 7 a.m. polls open to 9 p.m. That's when the polls close.
Okay. So everybody go out and vote. Hopefully this has helped educate some people. I know, it's only 2 more days, and I know you've heard a lot of stuff. And I get tired, if you notice, Black Westchester doesn't speak on every situation anymore because we just become part of the noise. And there's too much noise and there's too much coming from different directions, and people just don't know what to believe. So I hope things like this help, because that is the intention of us having this kind of show and doing the newspaper. And again, zero budget doesn't work, because I'm going to tell you, as a business owner, since COVID, we put out a newspaper. Paper and ink has gone up about 7 times since COVID. The increase of the amount of paper. So my printer has to charge me more to print. Now I have to charge my advertisers more. Everything is going up. So you can't, like, I couldn't absorb the increased prices and then keep the prices and keep my advertising prices the same. I didn't want to charge more, but I had to add 3% or whatever to the advertising to cover the increase that I had to pay. I know that's a little different. It's school and that's business, but nothing can exist by going 0, 0, 0, 0. Everything else is going up. And you started and you explained health insurance and certain things and increases in salaries, those go up. And if you want to, we keep losing our police officers. Why? Because they're so underpaid and ask so much. Mount Vernon is so underpaid, and the people that are there are asking to do a lot more than other districts. You can go to another district, make $35,000 more, and do less, have less to deal with. So this week, this show, unfortunately, is not going to be the answer to all the answers, but hopefully it's the beginning of the conversations. And I encourage everybody to start asking questions. When someone sends you something, when you read a Facebook post, ask the person, where did they get that information from? Ask the person, where did that come from? Before you forward it and share it to someone else. You know what I'm saying? Ask the questions. That's what we try to encourage our viewers and readers to do. Ask the question. Even if it's coming from me, don't take my word for it. Ask where I got the information from. Usually we have all the receipts in our articles for you. But if you're not sure, ask. I will gladly show you where we got it from so you can see it for yourself. You have to be more educated yourself. And there's so much misinformation going on all over the world, all through the country, and definitely still in here in our local community. So I advise everybody who can go out and vote Tuesday. Hopefully this helped educate a few more people to make more informed decisions at the ballot box. And also, early voting has just started for the primary, started yesterday. We have a list on Black Westchester, all the hours and the locations. Make sure you get out and vote. Local elections are more important than national elections to your day-to-day situation.
Yeah.
Your mayor and your city council have more to do with the way your roads look than the president, or certain services or how your garbage is picked up, or how your neighborhood is policed, or stuff like that. So we need to get more involved and come out for our local elections. And our school board election is one of those elections we need to be involved with. I thank everybody for tuning in. We went a little extra because of the time, because of the topic. I wanted to give it the extra time, and I saw a few people that were just signing on. I know you can hear me. I'm not saying no names at 8 o'clock. The show ends at 8. I'm not saying no names, but you hear me. But I definitely wanted the questions to be addressed, and we extended it a little longer. This is Black Westchester Presents, the People Before Politics radio show. We're on every Sunday, 6 to 8, simulcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, and anywhere else they let us stream. I am AJ Woodson. My partner Damon Kane Jones couldn't be here today. And happy birthday to his lovely wife, Antika. Her birthday was this weekend. And they had a big party at the house, and she left him with a lot of people's kids still at the house, and that's why he's not here. That's why he's not here right now. But happy birthday to Montika. Go out and support Cupcake Cutie, the family business. And any last words? And if it's real brief.
Get out and vote. It's important. Support the community. Support the kids. Get out and vote.
Brenda? No? Brief?
Yes, parents, community, become involved and engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Become involved and engaged and hold the people accountable by being involved and engaged.
I think that says it all. You vote these people in, regardless of the situation. Their salary is paid by you. They can't have these positions without you. So it is your right to hold them accountable no matter what the position is. And that's your responsibility. With that said, until next week, peace.
Thank you for watching another Blacktastic episode of the People Before Politics show. Sunday Rundown, powered by Black Westchester Magazine. We appreciate every single one of you who tuned in, commented, shared the stream, and joined the conversation. Your support is the reason independent Black media continues to thrive and speak truth without fear. Every week, we show up to bring clarity, accountability, and real community insight to the stories that matter. And you show up with us. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or X, we want you to know that your voice, your engagement, and your presence make this platform stronger. Thank you for rocking with Damon K. Jones, AJ Woodson, and Larnez Kinsey as we break down the issues that many outlets ignore. And thank you for supporting a space where Black thought, Black leadership, and Black truth-telling still matter.